Okay, so we want to put these problems or these graphs in both interval notation and what your book calls inequality notation. So let's start with the first one. These are two problems here, 1 and 2. Okay, so if I look at just this section, there's two parts here. So if I just look at this section, it goes from -1 and on forever. That's what that means. So I'm going to start at -1. I'll do interval notation first. And so I go from -1 on to infinity. So that's part of it. -1 to infinity. Infinity always gets a parenthesis. And in this case, because I have a closed circle, I'm including the -1 in that set. So that represents all these numbers. A set of an infinite amount of numbers from -1 on to infinity. Okay, so it's really like two problems in one. Then there's this set that goes, and the arrows indicate it's going back to -infinity. So I got to start with that. That's the lower number. It's not really a number. It just goes to -infinity, goes back to the left forever. And then it goes up to -2. And in this case, that's open circle means it's not included. And then I use this union symbol to put them together. Okay, now with the inequality notation, remember these we're going to let x be any number in here. X be any number in here. So this means x is greater than or equal to -1. That means the same thing, right? From -1 to infinity means the same thing as x greater than or equal to -1. And over here on this end, it kind of works the same. I'm going from -2 back to -infinity. Okay, so that means all my x values are less than this number. This is the biggest number here. So less than -2. And I do not include my the little equal sign underneath it because of the parenthesis, right? The -2 is not included. Okay, so this one has two sets as well. And if I want to write that in interval notation, this one works the same as this interval from the first one. I go from -infinity and I go up and I stop at -2, not included. That's actually the same set. And then here I'm going from -1 to 1. So that means in interval notation I go from -1 to 1. And that means all the numbers between -1 and 1, starting at -1, ending at +1, and everything in between, but I'm not including those two endpoints. And I put the union symbol inside there. So let's see. Let's see the rest of this. Okay. So what I was looking for is how your book decides to kind of bring these two guys together, which I forgot to do in the first one. So they're going to use the word or. Okay, and that's pretty much what this union means. It means this set or this set, or this set union with this set. Okay, so back to the first one. This is interval notation, and this one is what your book calls inequality notation. Okay, so we'll do that here. This is, of course, is interval notation using that set symbol, that big U. And then the inequality notation would be this would have two endpoints, so x has to be in between those two numbers, or x would have to be less than -2. And that is my inequality notation. Okay, so I hope that helps, but if you have more questions, let me know.